I want to talk first. This happened last Friday, and it was interesting, really. It was obviously, for those who don't know, Germany sacked Hansi Flick after, funny enough, Endo and his Japan team absolutely wiped the floor with them in a recent game. Paul Joyce reported again on Friday that Jurgen Klopp rejected the Germany job before they appointed Julian Nagelsmann on a short-term deal. Interesting because Germany host the Euros, and he could have been the manager of his home team in the Euros. Fair enough that they've asked the question, but there's been a lot of talk recently about Jurgen's future. Obviously, he's under contract for another couple of years. It looks like he didn't even give this one a second thought, which is nice, because I know a lot of people would just presume he would just dismiss it, but I don't think it would be particularly easy for every single person in the world to go, you know what, here's my home country in the home Euros to come and manage them, but he has just knocked it on the head straight away.
I mean, I think with Jurgen there's a few things, but one is obviously, I think he knows that when he wants that job, he can have it. You know, I don't think it's one of them where it's like, this is the only chance you get to be the Germany manager. You know, sometimes that is the case, isn't it, with clubs or with national teams. You know, you say no now and you'll never get another one. Maybe it's like Graham Potter, for example, must have looked at Chelsea and thought, I think I'll ever get that opportunity. I think, obviously, you say, you know, what an honour, the home Euros, the chance of glory. There's also the chance that you sort of look at Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick won everything at Bayern Munich. You know, was the real sort of hot property in football. It's not worked out for him, and all of a sudden his stock's plummeted. You know, if you do have imagine Germany went and had a sort of underwhelming or really poor Euros, and it's possible with the way that the team's been going. Yeah. You know, you've said goodbye to Liverpool to do that. You know, that would be in my mind. But also, I think just the way he's been speaking about this team just tells you that, you know, I don't think it's coincidental that he's been speaking this way, but that I think it's, I won't say re-energized them, but it's definitely energized them. You know, it's given them this feeling of, I'm really sort of almost flashbacks, I think, you know, to sort of probably the start of his Dortmund journey, and when he saw that team starting to emerge, probably the start of his Liverpool journey, where he's seeing pieces falling into place. And, you know, I've heard him speak many, many times on camera and off camera, like watching training and sort of saying he says to his coaches, you know, like, well, look at this, you know, like, this is unbelievable, you know, the standard of quality. So I think it was never likely to come there. I'm not surprised Germany, obviously, listen, if you're the German FA, you're looking and saying, right, who's the man? I'm pretty sure, like those sort of police dramas when they have the suspects sort of lined up, I'm pretty sure the biggest picture on that board is Jurgen Klopp, and he's the target number one. But yeah, I'm not surprised that he said no to it. I think there's an expectation that he will manage Germany one day, but I think it's still a fair way down the line. He doesn't to me strike me as someone who's sort of easing into that approach of, I wouldn't mind a sort of more laid back management life. I think he wants the sort of day to day, and he wants the ability to keep building something. And listen, if Liverpool carry on the way they're going, I think he is going to build something. Absolutely.
It was interesting, his comments, wasn't it, when he says, you know, this is in year 8, this is year 1. I think that was a great comment. Obviously, he's under contract till 2026. My hope is that you talk about re-energising him, because he looked knackered then when he's been speaking about it. I think he said last time when he signed the contract, I didn't want to leave Liverpool in this period of transition without me. Now they're going through that transition, and it looks like, touch wood, he might have got it right again, which they've done on a couple of occasions now. It's just whether it does, you know what, do I want to give this team to somebody else now? Because if it goes as well as his Dortmund build went, and then as well as his Liverpool first build went, like, you know, go and reap the reward yourself. You know, I wonder if I'm FSG now and he's in this greater mood, I'd be like that with a contract in front of his face. Can you do a little bit now?
I've heard people say that, and, you know, I know there was a little bit of sort of false hope put on Twitter yesterday, wasn't it? You guys tweeted something where it was, if you think I'm going to get excited about someone tweeting about a contract,
that sounds like something Dan would tweet.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a wind-up thing, but you're right. I mean, I think as well, from his point of view, and listen, this is me speaking as the sort of devil's advocate a little bit. What has he not proven as a manager? What he hasn't proven is, can he do it again?
Yeah.
As in with the same club. So you got Dortmund to the top of the mountain, you know, nearly made Dortmund European champions, you know, having won back-to-back Bundesliga, unbelievable achievement. But it went away, and it fell away, and he ended up still being successful, but not quite rekindling that glory. You got Liverpool to the top of the mountain, incredible, you know, 3-4 years of success. highest standards imaginable, but fell away, and now he's rebuilding again. If you can do it again, and that was what that's what the great managers are sort of defined by, really. The great managers I'm talking about, and I'm thinking of Ferguson as sort of probably the number one example, and maybe Wenger as the number one example, the opposite of but Wenger had a golden period. Even Mourinho had a golden period, but it didn't last, and it fell away. If Jurgen can get Liverpool back to even just winning the Europa League, winning competing for the title again, it just reaffirms this idea that wow, like what a manager. It wasn't just everything fell into place for him and he got the right people around him and Michael Edwards was doing all the good business and Man City had an off period or whatever. It just reaffirms this idea that wow, this is some manager. And I do think that would, I'm not saying it would be top of his list. He says often, doesn't he, I don't read what people think or whatever, but I do think that idea of can we get that proper feel, and also a little bit, can we get that feeling of those parades and that, imagine winning the Premier League, even the Europa League, the Champions League again, but with the supporters as well behind us. I think that would really, really sort of, it would be his utopia, really. And yeah, I think the only way he's going to be doing that is at Liverpool, isn't it? You're not going to get that feeling, with the German national team or, by going on a sabbatical for the year and waiting for another job to turn up. So I think he's still very much in that mix of proving himself again. Not that he needs to with Liverpool supporters, but maybe just, as I say, cementing that legacy and idea that this is one of the great managers of the modern era, which, for me he already is, but he's still, you can still move further up that list.
We saw his reaction at full time. There's a clip on our YouTube show if you haven't seen it, by the way, guys. And he was right bang into. First of all, he seems to love the purple. Like he's rocking the. I mean, Liverpool are at home and he's still rocking the purple.
My girlfriend texts me 10 minutes into the game. I'll be WhatsApp up on my laptop and I just said Klopp's outfit and the heart eyes emoji, and I was like, yeah, and didn't care to me. I was looked at him and I was like, yeah, he's in purple here, isn't he? So he just did his luggage maybe get lost on the way back from Lask, but
he looked nice.
Yeah, nobody. I think that's another one, isn't it? Like you can tell with Jurgen there are just there are moments where he has his finger on the pulse of mood, and I remember it. The one I remember was when they beat Leeds 6-0 in the quadruple season, where it was almost a little bit like Liverpool they'd gone 10-12 points behind City and they were starting to claw it back, but there was a lot of a mood where it was a bit like it's not happening, it's not happening. And then he beat Leeds and it was almost like he went right, pressed the button and he gave it, didn't he? He gave it beans in front of the Kop, and it was like, right, we're in this, come on, let's have it. And I do think there is a little bit of a feeling of that now. It's like, look, West Ham at home, it's nothing new to beat West Ham at home. They've not won many games at Anfield in the last 50 years. But there is that feeling of, that's another tough test passed. That's 5 wins in a row. Look, we're in there now. Look, do you believe me now? Have you stopped worrying about the transfer window? Have you stopped worrying about having a number 6 or whatever? Come on, let's have it. And yeah, I do think he's he looks a little bit of a man reborn this season, doesn't he? And his team are following suit. It
looks like, I think sometimes as a fan or as a coach or whatever, anyone really, when you've got a good team, and you can tell sometimes, like in boxing, I'm a big boxing fan, and you can tell when a boxer knows that, like, I'm probably going to beat this guy. They carry themselves with a different attitude. And Jurgen last year, he seemed a bit, again, I know he's had a couple of run-ins with people this year, but like he was very tetchy. He was always going, like, he's big, the smiles back. Like, I remember being on the Kop and people were wanting to do the fist pumps and he was having none of it. I think we don't, and it was like, you could tell now he's got, I don't know if mojo's the right word, but like David, back to the top of the show, David said, didn't he, this is a serious team. I think Jurgen thinks he's got a serious team now.
I think as well, I think you're right. I think it's a bit like, mouthing off when you've got nothing to back it up, and no, that's a sort of very basic way of putting it. But there were a few moments last season where, and I said this to journalists at the time, and I think one of the questions was something I asked them. But there was a couple of times when journalists, and not to catch him out, and not to be rude or anything, but asked him something where I thought, if Liverpool were going for the title, either bit and said, "Are you for real? Like, how are you really asking me that question?" But he would almost go, "Yeah, you're right. Like we were, we are, slow starters at the moment, or we are sort of, we did look, like we were lacking confidence, or we whatever, it was like he'd accepted that, you know, like, I can't defend that, or I can't sort of, you know, I can't fight for this team's honour at the moment because the evidence is there in front of you. I think he's very different now. Obviously, we've seen a few moments this season, of course, where he's not taken kindly to sort of the idea of criticism. But I think when you know you've got the artillery behind you, it's a lot easier to sort of be that kind of forceful, you know, defiant character. I think last season there was a few moments, I think, where he just looked a little bit browbeaten and a little bit sort of not out of ideas, but sort of sick. I think he actually said that at Wolves. I'm pretty sure he said, you know, I can only keep saying this for the same, you know, for a certain amount of time. We can't keep going back to playing 60 games last season. It's January, I think he said, or February. We've got to get over ourselves a little bit, and I think there was an element of that last season. It doesn't feel like that. I think one of the big things from this season feels like excuses are just being removed from the way, you know, transfer window doesn't matter, early kickoff doesn't matter, you know, travel, Europa League doesn't matter, injury or suspension for Virgil van Dijk doesn't matter. You know, just we'll win. We'll get it out the way, and so far so good. Listen, Saturday's huge game, because I think Tottenham are in a different way, but very similar. I actually covered their game at Burnley recently. They won 5-2, I think, up at Burnley. I definitely did cover it. But it reminded me a little bit. There was a little bit of Liverpool about it in the fans at the end. You know, in Turf Moor, where they were sort of worshipping Ange Postecoglou and sort of they were chanting, "We've got our Tottenham back," and this feeling of, look, we're starting to love this team, and that makes them a dangerous proposition. You know, you saw them. I think they lose that game on Sunday against Arsenal 9 times out of 10 in recent years. They didn't. They fought back. So they're a serious proposition, and if Liverpool can go and get a good result there, I think that really is another huge hurdle passed on this sort of journey for, you know, re-establishing themselves as one of the top sides.
Absolutely. If Mike Gordon or FSG are watching, you go and put the contract in front of him now. He's in a good mood. You go, yeah, you'll go and box that one off, and we'll get another couple of years added on to the end of it. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that clip from our Journo Insight show. We have that over on Redmen Plus each and every Tuesday. Neil comes in and talks about the latest happenings on and off the field at Liverpool. So if you like that show, that clip of the show rather, and you want to watch the entirety of it, we talk about Kostas' new contract with a little look towards the Leicester game, a little look back at the West Ham game, a little bit about Ryan Gravenberch seemingly being bombed out by the Netherlands, and a few other bits and bobs as well. Then redmenplus.com, from as little as $6.99 a month. You can get it as a video or as a podcast in your native podcast feeds. I'll see you all over there.
Thank you so very, very much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. The season is now well underway. If you need extra Redmen content, be it podcasts, videos, documentaries, interviews, and general shows, fill your boots on redmenplus.com today.